Elul marks the Hilul of Rabbi Yitzhak Elbaali, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, very famous rabbi of his time. I believe he would become a very, very great. I think his father's name was Rabbi Nissim Moshe Elbaali, very, very great family, and was born around the year 1786. It was chronicled over in Izmir in Turkey. Let's say that was a main Torah center learning in the whole world at that stage in time. So that was absolutely great pressure. Now, he grew up with regards to Torah and reverence with the great rabbis in Izmir. He would study, I believe there was a yeshiva called Magen Shaul Yeshiva that was based inside his vicinity over there, and he would really grow over there. I think this actual place itself, if I'm not mistaken, was actually founded by a famous Gvir, a wealthy philanthropist, Rabbi Raphael Gershon Shaul, and many, many Talmidim will be there, and huge amount of kiruv, Torah promotion will be done. He'll become, I think, the Dayan of the Jewish courts in the city of Izmir. Now, come what the year 1821, so at that stage in time, if he was born in 1786, he would have been about 35 years of age. I think he'd actually bring out his book in Saloniki, in modern-day Greece, I believe that is, called the Priya Etz. This book was on Masechet Avodah Zarah, so it's actually interesting. We're talking about Avodah Zarah. We just finished in a Daf Yomi cycle, Masechet Avodah Zarah, just last couple of days. Now, come what the 11th of Av, I think in the year 1841, there was reported over, highly documented, that there was a very large fire in Izmir, and many of his writings were lost because of that. And so that was very, very sad. And we mentioned about that beforehand. Remember, the fire did leave devastating effect from that point of view, within regards to that, where a lot of Torah writings were lost just all over, let's just say. And I think this was very, very tough on him, and him losing all this work. In those days, it wasn't so easy to write. It was a very, very difficult mission, let's just say, because not just like now you've got a pen and paper, you have to have all these other important, equipments that will actually facilitate it. Now, he passed away. I think he had a tough time. I'm not sure if there was health issues, but there was a lot of pain over there, and he passed away in the year 1842. This was reported over, so that was, So that was around that time period, if I'm not mistaken. I think come with the year 1873, it would actually be printed, if I'm not mistaken, in Izmir, his book of the Talmud, if I'm not mistaken, of Rabbi Moshe Chaim Matzliach, it was connected to. The name was Em Habanim, and it will be printed, I think, various different, especially Parashat Devarim, will be featured, the Drush Aleph, there'll be Hesped, and much, much more would be written. I think in 1893, way after, now we're talking about the time period he passed away. It will come out once again in Izmir, the book of his grandfather, Rabbi Yitzhak Elbaali. This was called Amar Yitzchak, and together with this, it was various different drashot with regards to Shabbat Zachor, was featured, I believe, in 1903. More would come out in Izmir. I think the book, the Einei Yitzchak, which is on Agdot Hashas, and there'll be also questions and answers, Sheilot Shivot, and various drushim that will be also printed, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I think his oldest boy, Rabbi Yoshua Yosef Elbaali, I think would actually bring, will actually perpetuate more within regards to maybe these teachings, which you have to also point over. So he was a very, very great rabbi. His son, Rabbi Yitzhak Elbaali, he was, he would take on various different important roles all throughout the various different time periods in of itself. So that is also very interesting. And we're trying to learn more within regards to the great rabbi. So I think I'm just trying to find out the exact date when he actually had passed away. That I'm not too sure about, but they do guess it was on that. The Hilula is on the date, which we did state over, so that's very important. Okay, now among his books, let's just explore within regards to that. Okay, so we see how various different teachings of his were printed at various different points in time. His grandsons, Rabbi Chaim and Rabbi Moshe Elbaali, would actually help, I think, with regards to publishing various different books, Torah books actually connected to, which his writings, his novelties, his kiddushim, very much so. Let's explore some of the highlights of the book. I think from the Amar Yitzchak in page number 18, Amud Bet, we'll actually write Melamed Shikumot Botzato Kedei Shifaze La'aniyim. It's a very, very important teaching. Now, another teaching, which is featured, I believe, in page number 10, Amud Bet, Melamed, Shania Chavero Levad B'Knesset, Korem Shistalek Ashchina. That's how severe it's actually considered. Another teaching, Melamed, Shedu Ma'ira La'aman, Yir'u Mila'osot Davar Kazeh. This is featured very much. He will expound on this on page number 15 in his book on Amud Bet. Another teaching, Melamed, Et Ratzon She'yechid Mitpalel B'Sha'ah, Shetzipor Mitpalelim. This piece of wisdom comes, I think, from page number 19 inside the book, the Einei Yitzchak, if I'm not mistaken. Another teaching, Melamed Gadol Mitzvah V'Oseh, Shenahena Megio, Shenilcham B'Yitzero. This is very much, I think, featured once again in page number 21. And by the way, this was, I think, printed through Rabbi Chaim Avram D. Shigoret in Izmir. So maybe in the year 1903. The one last teaching, it states over. Melamed, Shim Lomet Lekanta, Efshar Lo Lavo Lidei Lishma. So this is very much talking about chapter number 4. If I'm I think it goes until maybe around the 24th chapter. I have to double check. Or that is actually featured in page number 24, Amud Aleph, if I'm not mistaken. Once again, it was printed, this wisdom, through Rabbi Avram D. Shigura. I don't know much about him. I think it was very much connected to Izmir also, just like the great rabbi we are speaking about today, Rabbi Yitzhak Elbaali. Let's explore a bit more within regards to his brilliance, because you can always just see so much good there were. He had many children, including Rabbi Chaim Yosef, and I think his great-grandson will be Yitzhak Rabbeinu, also called as, or Rav Elbaali, he's actually nicknamed out. So it's very, very interesting. And among, I believe, he came from great auspices from a learning point of view also, which we must point out. I think especially he was close to Rabbi Yaakov ben Naim, a rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think Rabbi Yaakov ben Naim was his rabbi along with Rabbi Yosef Iskapa, if I'm not mistaken. So he had children, Rabbi Chaim Yosef, his grandson, Rabbi Yitzhak Rabbeinu Elbaali. So it was a famous, let's say, rabbinic family. His famous book was called Amar Yitzhak, and very much close to Rabbi Yaakov ben Naim, Ibn Naim, as we mentioned before. Rabbi we've spoken about, he was at Abbet Din, he was a Rosh Metivta in Izmir, and one of the great rabbis of the 17th century over there. The author of the Mishkanat Yaakov, I believe, also. He would also learn under Rabbi Chaim Abulafia Shlishi, another great rabbi we mentioned about on various occasions before. And once again, we mentioned about the connection between Rabbi Yosef Iskapa. And on top of it, he was a Darshan and gave over various different Hiddushim Torah, I think, all around the vicinities. Now, among his grandchildren, his son, Rav Chaim Yosef, everyone should know. And I think he has a grandson, Rabbi Nissim Moshe, happened to be the rabbi of the father of Rabbi Yitzhak Rabbeinu Elbaali, respectively, who was the author of the Pre-Heads and Einei David, those books, respectively. And I think his son is Rabbi Yitzhak Rabbeinu, and that's just another extra tidbit, but we just see the importance within regards and the greatness. Now, he left us with great books, including the Amar Yitzhak, which Rishon Tevot Be'efuch Otiyot Shel Maharab Rabbi Yitzhak Elbaali. I think this was printed in Nisan in the year Tafrei Nun Gimel in Izmir. Once again, I mentioned that just before. Chidushim on Shas, all composed of also of Mishnayot and various different subjects. I think very much has to be learned and by the Shabbat Halbashah, on the 4 special Shabbats of the year, which most of it is in Sefer Devarim, I believe. The Rosh on Shabbat Zachor, respectively. I think it was actually printed through Rabbi Yitzhak Rabbeinu Elbaali also, so we have to point that out also, so that's very, very important. And I think various different important activities will be taking place within regards to a community role, and that's something we point out. I think he had a book connected to the Haggadah Shel Pesach and to Torah Nevi'im Ketuvim, respectively. And please, everyone, join the channel. We're a community here. We're learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear. If you descend from any of the great rabbis we are speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information on the great Tzacham. If you feel anyone's interested in watching any of these videos, also, please share these videos also to other people so other people can benefit also. And please don't forget to subscribe. We are nearing 7,500 subscribers. which is a phenomenal achievement. So we hope that we can get to even more. And, the sky's the limit, as they say, which is very, very important to know. So on that note, I think wish you well. We are a channel that does many, many other important activities. Mostly, don't forget, within regards to just an encompassment, we try and record with different group rabbi here of current year inside the series every single day, and do huge amount of progress also. So on that note, wishing you all well. Thanks for taking time to watch, and blessings.